In this presentation, we will enter job estimates into our practice problem within QuickBooks Pro, QuickBooks Desktop. Here we are in our practice file 2. We currently have the open windows open. You can open the open windows by selecting the view dropdown and the open windows list. We're now going to be entering our estimates. Last time we left off noting that we cannot see the items that we've posted to our report with the jobs versus the estimates. As we see here, reports drop down, jobs time, and the jobs versus the actuals detail report until we enter the estimate. So even though we have some actual data, we don't get to see the actual data until we enter an estimate. So even if you're not using, in other words, QuickBooks to run the estimates within QuickBooks, you want to be able to enter the estimates into QuickBooks to be able to see the actual numbers in the report such as this. So let's run the estimates and see what we have here. We're going to go back to the Home tab in our practice problem. This is the completed problem. We are in the example tab. These are the completed costs. We're going to then put in related estimated amounts. So our imagination is going back to the front or the start of the job. We're entering the estimated amounts related to the job. So we're going to go back in and enter these items in QuickBooks. We're going to go to the estimates here. We're going to start with the estimates for job number 14. Going through this, I'm going to enter this as of 12/31/19. So we'll enter it as of the end of the prior time period. We're going to say that we're going to have materials, and we will enter the materials. And for the amount of, we ended up with 114. I'm going to put it in the books at 113. So I'm going to say this is going to be 113000 divided by 1000. And that'll give us that times the rate of 1000 to give us the 113. 30% markup we're going to say. I'm going to say 30% markup. There's the total then. Then we're going to say direct material or direct labor. So direct labor is the next item for job number 14. Going back to job number 14, we're at the 48,000. We're going to put that in the books then for the 48,000 here. That's going to be a 30% markup as well. Then we have the factory overhead. So we're going to have the factory overhead. Let's see what that will be at. According to our data, we're at the 29,140. Let's put the 48 actually on the books at 47, and we'll put this on at 29. So we'll put this at 47, so we have a variance, 47,000. And then we said 29, I believe here. 29,000. Correct me if I'm wrong there. 29, yeah, let's go there. All right, so then we're going to say save and new. Let's do this again. We're going to create a new estimate. So save and new. And yes, we're going to create this for job number 15. Job number 15, we're going to do the same process starting with the direct materials. Direct materials, we see that job 15 is going to end at 188. So we're going to put it in there at, let's say 189. So I'm going to say 189. So there's a variance divided by 1,000. And that'll give us 189. And then we'll say the markup is 30%. And there we have that. Now we're going to say direct labor. Same process with direct labor. That's going to be at the 84. I'm going to put it in there at 85. So there's a variance. So let's say 85,000. That's going to be a 30% markup as well. Then we have the factory overhead. The factory overhead, scrolling back over at 42. And so I'll put it on there at the 43. So we'll put it on there at 43. So there's a variance and a 30% markup there as well. Now we're going to say another one. We're going to say one more. So we'll say save and new once again. Job number 16. And job number 16, we're going to have the direct materials, and they're not quite done yet. So those are down here, 80. Let's make it 82 for the variance. So we're going to say 82,000 divided by 1,000 is 82. And we're going to have the markup at the 30%. Actually, this should be direct materials, not the labor. And then it will calculate to the 82. And then we're going to say this is going to be 30% markup. Then we have the direct labor. The direct labor is going to be at the 120. So we'll make it 122 for a variance. 122,000, 30% on the markup. And then the factory overhead on the books here at 50, we'll put it on there at 52. So 52,000, and there's a 30% markup. All right, so now we're going to record this and then see what happens to our job estimate report. We hope the estimates will show up as well as the actual cost. So we're going to say save and close. Yes. Go back to the job estimate report. If we go to the job estimates, then now it's all populated. So you'll note that we have the estimates here, and so that looks good. Our main focus, of course, is on the costs. So our main focus as we go through these problems is going to be the cost segment. So here's going to be our costs so far. And obviously, if we want to consider how much of the job is completed, we can take the percentage of completion and whatnot to figure out that kind of information as well. So now we might want to take a look at this in terms of one actual job, looking at the details. So if I go to the reports drop down, we go to the jobs here, and we go to the job profitability detail report. Let's take a look at it for job number 14. So we have the job number 14, okay. Here's our detailed report. We have the direct materials. Notice it's under an inventory item because we had to set up the inventory item separate in order to track it as inventory. Service items down below here adds up to the 141. That looks good. That should tie out to what we have in Excel. We have the 141 here. Let's then take a look at the trial balance at this point in time. If we go to the reports drop down, we go to the accounting and taxes, we go to the trial balance, and then changing the dates from 01/01/20 to 12/31/20. We see then that we have the information in terms of the inventory. We've got our cost of goods sold at the 350,000. The 350,000 in the cost of goods sold. Note that that's the current amount that we recorded to it. So we'd have to do a little bit of a calculation here, right? We'd say there's 350,000 in the cost of goods sold, and there's 83,000 that were in open jobs from the prior time period that is in the equity section. So that's the important thing, that the little reconciliation that we would have to do in QuickBooks, right? In order to tie out the job cost sheets showing, if we look at the actual versus the estimate, the 433,000, it shows the 433,000 in the job cost sheet, the 433,000 minus what we have in the trial balance, which would be the cost of goods sold minus the cost of goods sold at the 350,000, and that gives us that difference of 83, which are our beginning balances. That's the open jobs as of the end of the last time period. We can see that if we go back to the job versus actual summary and we put in the dates of 01/01/19 to 12/31/19, and we say, okay, what was open as of the end of the last time period? And we'd say, okay, these two jobs are open, and so they're still included in the current job cost sheet. And that's kind of the adjustment that we would have to basically look at when we want to reconcile out the job sheets to what's on the trial balance, and that could also help us with our adjusting entry at the end of the time period, as we will see later.